Are you okay if I take my
Yes, I'm fine with taking it off.
I've been boosted.
Good afternoon, Lambs. We are so excited to have you here at Woodlawn. I cannot say enough about how much, of course, we'll use cemetery puns, Kevin has unearthed about the land and the incredible list that he has made. I'm Susan Olson. I'm the Director of Historical Services. I'm sort of the historian, but today I have a grant report due, so I can't ride along with you, but I will be in the office when you come back. But our theater history is incredible. Is Dawn on the tour?
I'm here.
Dawn Connolly is one of our volunteers who's become obsessed with vaudeville, silent film, etc. And again, she and Kevin have done a most magnificent job. We're really proud of the heritage, and we are looking forward to this being the first Lambs tour, where we're going to come down and see your building, and then you're going to become frequent Woodlawn visitors, celebrating music and acting and those who made theater great in the past. So have a fabulous time with Kevin. And Liz, our educator, is here.
Our shepherd's here.
Oh, goodness. Come on, Shepherd. And of course, our organization is called the Woodlawn Conservancy. We were established in 1999. And we are the fundraising and non-traditional visitor arm of the Woodlawn Cemetery. So come on, get on board. So again, we're so excited to have you today. I'll see you at the end of the tour. So that if you have any questions about Woodlawn or anything else, but Liz, our Director of Education, will be on the tour with you, so she can help you too. So anyway, have fun, hop on.
Come on up. Wow, Mark, we're Sopranos. Let's.
Hi, everybody, have fun.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Mark. Is this seat available? Is that? Thank you very much. It was Evan Booth's birthday yesterday. So we were celebrating. I received it and I write most of the narrative.
It's only, again, 2 out of 20 years that I missed that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Kevin. Nice to meet you. So when we get to Barry, I'm going to have you take over for a couple minutes, okay? Can I put you on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin was asking where you, I was with you, and I'm like, oh.
We'll do that at the end. We'll do that at the end. But I'll have you, I have a little bit about Barry, but I know you would know a lot more, okay? Super. He's towards the end, so.
Leslie, before I forget.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Okay. Great. Great. Sure. You can live right here.
Oh, hi, God.
Let's pass these out. You guys take one or two and pass them to the back. And the first one, the first rural cemetery really was Père Lachaise. Maybe you've been there in Paris. That concept was transferred over to the United States in the 1830s in Massachusetts. Then about 20 years later, this other cemetery in Brooklyn opened up. I can't think of the name of it right now. That's the name. That's the name. Another historic cemetery, very beautiful place. Not as many nice people, but the difference with that cemetery is it's very hard to get to. There's no bridge in the 1840s, 1850s. The bridge didn't open up until 1883, and so it's kind of hard to get over there. And so a group of businessmen during the Civil War started buying up property around here. Woodlawn is 400 acres. It's about half the size of Central Park. And in the 1860s, about 3/4 of it was farmland. Only 1/4 of it was forest. So most of the trees you're seeing here were planted. But for those of you that came from the other gate, you see it's site-specific because we're right next to the New York Central Railroad. And so what made Woodlawn so attractive during the Gilded Age is you could have your funeral in Manhattan, walk over to Grand Central, get on Woodlawn's special train car with the deceased, and come right up to the Woodlawn station. Horse and carriage will meet you, take you to the gravesite, have your service, get back on the train, and you're home for dinner. So within about 20 years, it expanded to 44,000 people. And now there's a little more than 300,000. Okay? If you have any questions today, let me know. We're going to go to 2 mausoleums. So let's make a right here. And hopefully I don't get lost. I've been driving the route a few times. Let's see if I can get this to work again. Liz, is this? Oh, there we go. All right. That's our first clubhouse. We talk about these gentlemen in just a minute. Just gonna make a left right here. This is Oliver Hazard Perry Belmont, who was elected in 1887. This is his mausoleum on the right.
Jeez.
We are in the fancy neighborhood right now. So, any horse racing fans?
Oh, yes.
Belmont? That's his father. That's his father. So Belmont was a millionaire, and he actually died in 1908. He was a playboy. He was also a congressman. But his wife, Alva, who is the well-known one here, Alva was his second husband, and her first husband was a Vanderbilt. And so she came from money, so she had a little money. And so she built this grand edifice, which is a copy of one in France that is actually where Da Vinci is in the 15th century. But what she did with her money, she gave it to suffrage. She was a big suffrage champion.
Yay.
And so she's on the Women's History Tour. And she was really influential in the Votes for Women campaign. And when we go inside, you'll see her crypt is on the right, and that is her Votes for Women banner on the right. Belmont is on the left, and Woodlawn got a grant to restore this to its spectacular nature. And one of the things that Alva said is she wanted people to come inside and see it, and also experience the Votes for Women and the champion it got. So Belmont was one of the members that was considered a non-professional member. For those of you who aren't lambs, we have theatrical members, people that are in show business. We'll talk about the birth of the lambs on the tour. Then the other people are the non-professionals, people that work in business, that are possibly doctors or lawyers or people that aren't in show business, the people that buy the tickets to the shows. So Belmont would have been one of those. You always want to have those guys because they might be picking up the check sometimes at the club. Let's go inside and take a quick look around.
You didn't bring Audrey this time.
She's Don Giovanni now, so we have to adjust our name. She was Zerlina too. That was. No problem. Sandstone? No. Thank you. Oh,
Cool, right?
yeah.
So there are only two people dead?
Only two people here.
They could know what I walk right by. It's fine. Hi, Leslie.
So Alva's first husband was William K. Vanderbilt. And where did the Vanderbilt money come from? First ferries and railroads. So she was a double millionaire. She gave a lot of money to a lot of causes. And if you've ever been to Newport, that was her big house up there. Was it Roosevelt House?
The Marble House.
Marble House? Thanks, Liz. Keep me honest. Otherwise, I just made it up.
Oh, these are the bones here?
Yeah.
Her first husband was Vanderbilt.
These are the bones here.
What? Bones of...
No, I'm not sure what.
That's hereditary. Someone tried to bury an animal.
Right? Okay.
What bones are there? Those.
So that's Alva. That's the wife.
Oh, we were looking at this.
Oh, that's part of the broken sculpture that was on the roof.
Oh,
Yeah, they need to restore that.
oh.
Yeah.
No, those aren't human remains.
Okay, fine. I thought they were remains of the hunt. Oh, hello.
She was living in France when her parents died.
That most of these
Walk over to that one because that's what we're going to see next. That's the lamb. Right on the corner.
Oh, okay. Oh, see you there. Myra, I'm walking. Hi, come back.
That was a big thing. But he was a big patron of the arts, and during World War I, he donated a lot of money to the American Field Service, which was buying ambulances for France. And he had a really big art collection, which is now part of the Met. But he was elected to the Lambs in 1906. So let's make a right here. We're coming up on one of our favorite lambs, Victor Herbert, up on the right. He was elected to the Lambs in 1896. He was one of the most influential composers of his time. Composed for the Paul Whiteman Orchestra, the Red Mill, Naughty Marietta, but he's probably most known for Babes in Toyland. He died in 1924. He was one of the founders of ASCAP, and so ASCAP started in 1914. The Wood Door, the Lambs were not only the first men's club to admit women, but also zombies. So he's been trying to get out, so we have to keep him in there. Let's go forward. So one of the things that we're going to pause right here. If you look over to the right, you can't really see Robert Foster's grave because it's flat on the ground. Big round of applause for Dawn Connolly in the back seat who helped with this big list. I found out about a lot of people that I had never come across before, and so today we're visiting people that probably have not had any visitors. This is a man who never married, never had children. He joined the Lambs in 1956, a professional member. Wasn't that old really when he died in 1963. He was only 47, but he worked for CBS TV. He was in the sales department, advertising department, animation department. A lot of Lambs are very big into early television and had long careers. And knowing where the Lambs, headquarters was on 44th Street, it's very easy to walk over to the clubhouse from CBS around the corner of Black Rock. So he is over there, buried with some other friends, and that is Robert Foster. Can make a left here. We're going to go see somebody much more famous. Shows running at the same time. He was a fantastically successful playwright, could really turn them out. So just past this intersections on the right, you're coming to these columns. Right here. Also, who's feeling very spry? Leslie brought white roses for us to leave at some graves. White is a symbol of loyalty. So would someone like to put a rose on Clyde Fitch? So Fitch Fitch had not a very long career. He died in 1909, but he wrote 36 original scripts, 21 adaptations for 62 plays. He adapted novels. He adapted plays. Ethel Barrymore was in his first show. Maude Adams was in her first show in a Fitch play. And producers that he was really, really a beloved member. In 1909, he ignored appendicitis, which is not a very good thing to do. He didn't listen to his doctor, and so he died of appendicitis when he was in France. His ashes were brought here, kept in a sarcophagus until this Holly's girl. She was from Pennsylvania, the daughter of famine survivors. A little bit further past this big tree. You're going to look over on the right, a little bit further, Look over. Discovered her in a beauty pageant. They got married. She started making silent pictures. She always played like a vamp or good girl gone good kind of roles. But she was really in love with Jack Pickford, who was a real rake. He was a real ladies man. They went to Paris in 1920 to try to rekindle their relationship, and she accidentally swallowed bicarbonate, mislabeled, they think, the French labels, and died of poisoning. Brought back here. That was right when her movie The Flapper came out, which you can watch on YouTube. She was only 25. Her death was like one of the first big silent movie star deaths, where thousands of people filled the streets. They needed 25 cops to keep the crowd away from St. Thomas Episcopal. But the mourners and the ushers were all lambs. Thomas Megan, one of our shepherds, we just restored his painting. Irving Berlin, William Collier Jr. But the sad thing is, so she was buried here, or put in this mausoleum in 1920. Then Jack died in 1933, and Mary is in charge, and Mary did not like Olive, so Jack is actually buried in L.A., and she's here by herself, not really marked with her name on anything. You don't know there's Olive Thomas. So the fans are trying to bring him back. So there's a movement to try and bring Jack Pickford back to Woodlawn, which would be a really nice thing. One of the most successful producers of down to the left, of the 1910s and 20s. He had producing shows for many, many years. I think it's the third corner, fourth on the right. Yeah, right up here. A little bit further. Just kind of Art Deco design right here. But if Ray Comstock is remembered for anything, he's the guy that brought Russian ballet to the United States. I mean, you think about how many Russian ballet stars have come to the United States. He was the guy that went to Russia and started bringing them over. He also discovered Marion Davies, of all people, as well, too. He built the Princess Theater in 1913, which sadly was demolished. It's now, I'm not sure where it's there right now. But he really made a ton of money before World War I. Then he retired in the 20s, in 1927, but he said, if the American theater owes me anything, the debt is more than balanced by what I owe it. And what I owe it is 30 years of delightful association with the most fascinating people in the world. But the thing is, Ray was married, never had children. He is here by himself. So he built this beautiful pause right up there. So William Courtly Sr. Was the shepherd during World War I. And he had a very long, very successful career. We can't really see his gravestone because it's on the back row over there. You see these are very similar. This whole section pretty much was built in the 20s. A lot of influenza victims. People died during the pandemic, so that's why they're all of this design. But Courtly was really an amazing person. He was elected in 1896, and he joined a group of actors in 1930. Actor. He started acting when he was about 9 years old. They're in the Save Grave. He died during the influenza pandemic in 1918. He was only 26 years old. But the thing is, William Courtly Sr.'s name is not on the gravestone. So technically it's unmarked, so maybe we can do something about that. But they're right over there, the two Courtleys. Let's make a left, Fernando. Lady in 1911 and Chin Chin in 1914. He was married to a Gilbert and Sullivan star named Geraldine Ulmar, who's also here as well. He died in 1921, November 1921, so we're actually celebrating the centennial of his death. He was 60. And if you pull a little bit further, Fernando, in the back row is another person, Herbert Gretchen. So he was a very early Lambs member. The Lambs started in 1874. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. So he joined in 1884. So he was one of the very earliest members when the club was expanding by leaps and bounds. But for many, many years, anybody recognize that building? Carnegie Hall. So he started working at Carnegie Hall in 1903 when he was 18. We'll go down almost to the corner and pause. Part-time job paid $1 a show as an usher. And one of the people that he met was Andrew Carnegie, and he was his favorite usher. So he'd always ask, "Where's John?" And so he would escort him to box number 33. You know, Carnegie built it in 1891. So in 1927, he became the house manager, a position he held all the way up into the 1950s. Some of the things that he did, he was really an amazing guy, is he allowed George Gershwin to sneak in when he was a young kid to kind of watch the rehearsals. And later on, Gershwin became a big star, and also a Lamb. He gave him free tickets to his shows. But Totten said, real artists are never temperamental. When they scream because something is wrong, invariably something is wrong. Another time, there's a fire going on during a show, which is probably the most dangerous thing to ever happen when there's a full house. He quickly puts the fire out, opens the windows to let the smoke come out. Then he calls the fire department and says, "You can come to Carnegie Hall, but don't have your sirens on." The show continued and no one knew the building was on fire. So then he was born in Dublin. He was a big tragedy star in the early 1900s, but he also wrote 7 Broadway shows, including one when he was 19, and he acted opposite Alla Nazimova on her debut when she came in from Russia. They might have had a little affair going on too. He was married twice, and in 1897 he met David Belasco, a fellow Lamb, who gave him acting lessons at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Tynan didn't pay the $10 fee, so he said, "Oh yeah, I'm good for it." He never paid him. So he liked it so much, he put him into the Follies to impersonate Belasco. And Belasco is a real character. Belasco used to dress up like a priest. He used to walk around with a Roman collar and act like he was a minister, which was great for meeting ladies, right? But he became the other left. So Joe Smith and Charlie Dale were partners in one of vaudeville's most popular and successful comedy acts. Later translating their sketches into radio and TV. They actually were on the Ed Sullivan Show, and their partnership lasted, get this, 73 years. They met in 1898. Joe Sulzer was born 9-10 years old and started performing, got into vaudeville, joined the Barnum and Bailey circus when they were kids, and they came to New York, got into vaudeville. McCulloch sadly died of suicide in the 30s, and then Clark went on into the Follies. He made Streets of Paris. It's a posthumous honor. It's for somebody that's something so good it keeps the club going. And there's only 33 men that have gotten this honor since it started. He was one of the first. We're going to go up to the right up here. Can someone take a picture of Mark? Somebody got a camera? That's really nice.
I just did.
So, Grismer's in there with his wife and son. There actually is 3 empty spots there, so maybe if Mark does
I'll wait here.
And so we'll go left here. Alright, this is where we made our mistake before, Fernando, so we're gonna go straight. Right here. And go straight. Right here. Taken her under his wing. He gave her ballet dancing, gave her acting lessons, really built her up into a big star. She started in Sunny on Broadway, and if you're ever on 46th Street, you see the I. Miller shoe store. That's her sculpture on the side. Yeah, next to Ethel Barrymore.
He's
That's her statues there.
He was what?
He's
So they
in
married in
Barry.
1919, and the following year, 1920, he was delivering a car they bought for her. This car.
Very much so.
And he was killed in a car crash. So he was only 28. But actually, this is the centennial of his death.
She was building Frank Carter's mausoleum. And they met at Woodlawn. And that's how they wanted to get
We're doing good on time, everybody. Said, Irving Berlin has no place in American music. He is American music. Sits right here on the left. So if you see the Russian flag, because he was born in Russia, it's now in Belarus. Went to Ellis Island as a little boy. Grew up poor on the Lower East Side, and was a true rags to riches story. Mark, you want to do this one? It's right there, where the American flag is.
Oh, I see.
The first person to be buried there was their son, who died as a baby, Irving Berlin Jr.
They were on the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, so Holly. And the other Irving Berlin? How many Irving Berlins are there? Oh.
Woodruff. And why does he have all these framed photos? So we go right, yeah, and straight down Prospect. Yes. So Harry, I put American flag there earlier so we could find it. Just a little bit further. So I've been interested in this man for about 2 years. Where's the angel arm up? Okay, a little bit further down. There it is. So if you look on the left, 3 rows in, there's an American flag. That's Harry Woodruff. A couple of things about him. First is his girlfriend was Jay Gould's daughter, millionairess, and they're both in their early 20s. And Jay Gould did like him, but her brothers did not. And so what happened is one day he's walking down the street and a police lieutenant comes up to him, takes him into the cop shop, and says, "You need to stay away from Anna Gould. Do not ever go to their house again." And so it broke his heart. But he was a non-stop traveling actor. He was big into Shakespearean roles.
And her French relatives sued. They got the endowment, and we got Lyndhurst, and we recently had just gotten some of her clothing from France.
So when she got her first divorce, people thought that they would get married, and they never did. That first wedding didn't last very long. So make a left and a left.
So Kevin,
I'm happy to arrange.
was the reason that the Gould family said stay simply because he was an actor?
Because he was an actor, yes.
Just that.
Yes. Business. His father, Wolf, started the Daisy and Costume Company in the 1830s. He was born during the Civil War, and then he stepped into the business with his brothers being Daisians and Sons. They started downtown, of course, where Broadway used to be downtown, and then he met his first wife, who sadly died when she was in her 30s, and his second wife, who is Mary. And guess what? I got the keys. Who wants to go inside?
Yeah.
Now this is no.
There's that face.
We just have a gravestone. I want something grander.
All right, let me.
I'll learn this.
Hold on.
Expensive.
Let's start loading up.
93.
So are there symbols that you're familiar with from the Masons?
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
And those are not the Egyptian necessarily? I thought those, when you see the Egyptian figures, that it's also reference to the Masons.
My brother made
living on the trust fund, and then went to France, and where he lived for the rest of his life. And was brought back. We actually can't even see the mausoleum from the road being behind there. And that's where Jay Gould is with his big family. And there's another Egyptian themed one there for Mr. and Mrs. Connor. But if we go forward, we're going to see one of my all-time favorite, not just lambs, but New Yorkers, and that's Flag. Flag was a fantastic artist, beloved member of the club. World famous. He started as a kid selling his art. I think it started his first piece of art when he was like 9 years old or something. No, he was 12. But what he's really known for, we're coming up on it. We didn't pass it. Oh, it's coming up on the right. So one more street. Just past this tree, if you look over on the right, Flag is buried with his first wife. Right there on the right.
Where?
Artist, beloved husband, and father. Who wants to give a flower to Flag?
Where?
Who loves the pinups? Leslie's gonna do it? All right, Leslie. All right. Oh, I love the nudes. That's why I'm a Flag fan. We just restored one. I'll let Leslie do it. Why? I keep talking. Right there on the. Right there. Right there. Yep. Right there. So, I mean, really what Flag is known for is his commercial illustrations. He used live models, and during World War I, right beginning of 1917, he drew Uncle Sam. And it was on the cover of Leslie's Weekly, and the War Department came to him and said, "We want you to draw something like this as a recruiting poster." He said, "Why don't you just take this?" And so what Flag did is he kind of refined what Uncle Sam looks like for I Want You. Because Uncle Sam had been around since the Spanish-American War, but it was Flag who determined the top hat with the stars, the striped pants, the blue jacket. But the other thing about Uncle Sam is Flag based his drawing on himself. And as he got older, he really made Uncle Sam look just like him. He even grew a beard out to do those kind of poses. But for the lambs and people like Howard Chandler Christie, the lambs would have an annual show, the Gambol that I mentioned. And to sell programs to the audience, they would always have a well-known artist do the cover. And it's usually, as we got to the jazz age, a nude. And that really drove up the sales of the programs, of course. And then they would have an auction afterwards to raffle off the painting. And they raised thousands of dollars that way. And oftentimes the person that won the painting then donated it back to the club. That's why we have not every nude painting, but a number of them. And they change. Non-stop actor. He worked all the time. We're going right here. When he was in his 60s, he fell down a flight and died. He actually died in the clubhouse, had a heart attack. And if you see the portrait we have of him, the members painted the frame black in mourning, and it still has that black on it. So I think when we restore it, we'll probably have to keep it black. But he was a really beloved member, and had been acting for 60 years, which is in used to be in Union Square. And McLean invites 4 men out to dinner after the show. So it's up on the left, Fernando, with the cross on top. McLean was not an actor. He was a businessman. He was born into great wealth in Gilded Age society. This is him on the left, right here. James. James is his brother. So he's in James and George are in there. And so he invites them to this restaurant. This is the old Delmonico's, which is on 14th Street, just right off of Union Square. And he invites 4 men, Edward Arnott, Harry Beckett, Henry James Montague, and Arthur Wallach, who was the son of John Lester Wallach, all actors. And they have a fantastic dinner, and they say, "Why don't we do this again? And what should we call the supper club?" And Montague, who was English, said, "Well, I belong to a club in England called the Lambs, named for Charles and Mary Lamb, the essayist." And it was a theatrical club that started in 1869. And they said, "Well, let's do this again. We're going to meet again in 2 weeks, and everybody bring another friend." that way we'll increase our numbers. And so they did that for a number of months, and then in 1877 incorporated in the state of New York. So the Lambs, beginning in 1874, is the oldest professional theatrical organization and club in the country. It's a social club, it's a fraternity, it's the first all-men's club to admit women of the 3 theatrical organizations. And now half the club is women, which is really nice to see. But it's all because this guy said, let's go out to dinner. The mausoleum was just restored, but we are not able to go into now, but maybe the next time we come down here.
Is that Montague's portrait of the Lambs? Yeah.
Montague's portrait is in the clubhouse. It's on the 5th floor now. McLean attended Columbia for 2 years, but dropped out. And he was president, director, and treasurer of in like the insurance business, and he was a member of lots of clubs of business. He died in 1913 at age 63, but he's considered one of the 5 founders of the club. Okay, let's go straight.
He's not getting a rose?
Oh, I guess we should give him a rose. Oh my gosh, you guys! I'm going to give him 2 roses. I'm going to give him 2 roses, and I'm going to jump out. All right, you guys do that. I'm going to. There's rose petals all over the bus. I love it.
Yeah, and meat chows. My mom used to say I'm great.
Hang on, I want to get this picture.
They're posing.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
¿Vas a querer una foto?
Even though it's his brother. Right. Yeah, but we know he's there.
There's probably one of these little ones on the side, right? It's a grave site shaped like a bench.
Guys, wave.
Hello!
That's what I would
Hello!
Hi!
Put that on there. Break open the glass. Interesting. How old is the guy? Getting up there?
Yeah, right here, right here. And we're taking this all the way over to Border. Yeah, so this section, there's a lot of people from the early 20th century. You can kind of see a lot of different kinds of design styles. Yep, we'll go straight over to Border. It's also, I should have said at the beginning of the tour, it is non-sectarian, so they'll admit any faith here. It's not near a public library, the main monument, the Fireman's Memorial on Honor Street. They're interred here too. There's a lot of Piccarelli sculptures in this cemetery. So we go around the bend to the right. But Glass, with writing these shows about 2 Jewish tailors, became very wealthy because the shows toured all over the country. He directed several Thanhouser films, including their first 2 real, Romeo and Juliet.
We just passed it.
So it's a little bit further.
We just passed it.
We just passed it?
Yes. Marie Hannah is a member of the lab. And Marie and I, now some years ago, before really the internet kicked in a way that really aided us a lot, I actually have a background in the theater, and I worked with Joseph Papp for some years and went on to work at the American Playhouse on PBS, and then went on into a more commercial production company with Robert Homey. But I dimly knew that I had some relative that was a and I thought, okay, vaudevillian, vaudeville, but it was never talked about, at least in my family. And Marie's mother, my great Aunt Mary, had a couple of these photos, a few stills from what I thought he was an actor who may have been in a silent film, and we later discovered that he had this long history in silent film. And the kind of wonderful thing, his parents were born in Ireland. His name was Thomas McCarthy. He changed his name to Barry O'Neill, and first as a stage name, which does sound more fun than Thomas McCarthy. But so anyway, but it's been, I think all of you can identify with this in one way or another, just the discovery of someone's life and career. And especially, I always had an interest in 19th century theater and trouping and vaudeville.
and of course, legitimate theater, but I was very moved as these things became revealed.
And what happened to destroy their relationship was the actor strike of 1919. And, you know, Harris famously sided with the players and the actors, and Cohan went with the producers, and that ended their relationship after 18 shows together. What was his real birthday? July 3rd. But he was a non-stop workaholic for 60 years. And if you see on the right, nibble effects. I wrote that down. They worked on The Wizard of Oz, and I have another one there too, Posers. And with movies taking popular songs, he really thought it'd be the end of recorded music. And so
No vamos a entrar ahí.
And helped train American pilots in Texas when he was built. So he was brought back and interred here, and then she put this marker for him and her 2 other husbands, and then she came here. Now gates are a symbol probably nobody's ever heard of. Frank Kitching was from Massachusetts. He was in the Civil War, fought for the Union. He was a POW. Came to New York City in the 1870s and got into the wool business. He was a wool broker. He loved theater. So he joined the Lambs in the 1880s. And towards the end of his life, he died in 1917, right the same week that we entered World War I. He said to Joseph Bueller, who was a lawyer and a member of council, said, I want to do something for the club, for members that are in trouble. So he donated 100 shares of railroad stock, and that became the Lambs Memorial Relief Foundation. Bueller took over that because, remember, he's a lawyer, and he set it up, and other Lambs started donating money to that relief fund too. And that relief fund was to help actors and members who were on hard times. During World War II, they changed the name to the
Lambs Foundation.
Well, first it was the Land Services Morale Corps, and then it became the Lambs Foundation.
And so today that is the Lambs Foundation. So he started it. So in 1933, when they created the Immortal Lambs, he was the first Immortal Lamb. That's his wife right there. They never had children. He's not from New York City. I would